It's time for Coffee with the Chicken Ladies, a podcast for people who love chickens.
Hey everybody, and welcome. It's Chrisie&Holly from Coffee with the Chicken Ladies, and we are here. This is episode number 3 of our brand new podcast where we talk about everything chicken, family, fun, and
more chickens.
We drink a ton of coffee, but most importantly, we
hug our chickens every day.
Every day. Don't forget to hug your chicken. We're brewing coffee today from our local coffee house, Coffee in Bel Air, Maryland. And what flavor are we brewing today, Holly Ann?
Almond Joy.
We keep going back to that flavor.
It's very good.
It is very good. Their coffee is very fresh and it's so delicious. If you're local, head over, get a cup. You will not be disappointed. If you're not,
you can shop online. We have their website in our show notes.
So yeah, give them a hit. How are you doing today?
Okay, a little crazy, you know.
It is.
Christmas shopping, baking cookies. Are you doing your cookies yet?
I have to do them soon. This weekend, maybe. This is the time of year where you never sit down.
No, it's true.
It's crazy. I'm running here, running there. It's a little slower without having the kids in the actual school building.
Right.
So it makes it a little bit easier, but we've just been crazy with the holidays.
Do you find it's taking more of your time to have to shop online?
It's a little harder because I'm that type of shopper that likes to touch and feel things.
I know.
I mean, I like to be in
I remember.
the hunt. Like, if it's a sweater, I've got to feel how soft it feels. So online shopping is good for me. Like, if I know exactly what I want, I've already seen it.
Right.
So it's a little harder for me to envision something. But we did manage to squeeze in the thrift shop today.
That might have happened. In our defense, we were just looking for more vintage chicken things.
Which we did find.
We did.
How are we that lucky that we always keep finding these things?
And we have an eye for it.
But we have to go back. We have a thrift store that's in our local area that has a very large red rooster that is not for sale.
Right, and I've said in previous episodes that I'm a sucker for vintage chicken things. This rooster is classic 1950s, mid-century modern Japanese import.
Up on top this bookshelf.
Yes, he's huge. He's red with green wattles and combs. He's everything I love in a giant chicken statue, and I covet him.
And he's not for sale.
He's not for sale.
They denied you.
Well, then we can start talking about a chicken that we can have.
Which brings us into this week's breed spotlight.
This week we're doing the Dominique.
The Dominique. Such a fancy, like, posh name, the Dominique.
It is for a very, well, they're pretty little chickens. They're not
I like
flashy.
them.
I like them too. I have one. Dolly Madison is my lone Dominique.
I love little Dolly.
She's very pretty. I didn't know anything about the breed before. I mean, I'd seen it mentioned because the Dominique is credited with being the oldest chicken breed in the United States.
That's right.
So I didn't really know much about her. She was given to me along with a Swedish flower hen. And when I started doing research, I found that they're called a lot of different names. So we know them as the Dominique. Sometimes they were called the Pilgrim chicken.
Pilgrim fowl, I found.
Pilgrim fowl. They were also very confusingly called Plymouth Rocks at one point too.
Yeah, because basically the myth that goes along with them is that they came across with the Pilgrims. And that they were brought from England over to us, and hence the first chicken of America.
Right. Most livestock historians think the Dominique came through Saint Domingue, which is modern-day Haiti.
Okay.
Which is where the French name came from. And apparently they were an extremely popular homestead chicken breed on early U.S. farms on the East Coast.
So there's all these different myths about where they came from. But the number one thing is that they're our first chicken of America. And, I mean, they're really pretty. And you know what? They remind me of Barred Rocks because Barred Rocks came from them.
Barred Rocks came from them, that's right. One of the major differences between the Dominique and the Barred Rock, the physical aside, which we're going to talk about in a minute, is the fact that the Dominique is so old, it's currently on the Livestock Conservancy's watch list.
Okay.
So it's no longer critically endangered, no longer even considered threatened. It's on the watch list, which means it could go one way or the other. So
we got to watch it.
We got to watch it. We got to watch it.
We got to make sure it doesn't go on that other side.
Right.
So
they're a medium-sized chicken, and they have they're barred.
Right. But they're not as straightforward as the Barred Rocks per se. They're more of an irregular kind of barring, staggered, closer, so that their color looks more of a dark color versus seeing that white as much.
And they have the rose comb,
which, as story says, way back, they had a single and a rose comb, which kind of says, oh, okay, maybe that's where the barred rock gets single comb from.
Apparently in 1874, the American Poultry Association put the Dominique in the standards of perfection as having a rose comb. And at that point, the barred rock had to have the single comb. So that's where the two of them diverged. Anecdotally, the barred rock is supposedly a cross between the Dominique and a Java chicken, which is a beautiful black chicken.
Which would be a perfect chicken for us.
Yes, it would, wouldn't it? The Java chicken. So the rose comb is sort of tight and more flat to the head. It has a little bit of a tail, a little spike on the end.
Which is really good for cold weather areas.
Yes.
It's a little bit resistant to frostbite, which we all love to hear, chicken keepers.
Yes, we do.
We don't want to be looking out for those combs that get frostbite. So that's a good thing about Dominique.
It is. I noticed early on with Dolly, actually I fell in love with Dolly shortly after I got her because her personality is absolutely fabulous. And I have noticed that she is pretty cold hardy, but she tolerates the heat pretty well too. I have a lot of heavyweight breeds.
I was going to say, because she's more in that medium size.
She is. She's definitely more in the medium size. The other thing I love about this breed is that they're sweet. We love those sweet chickens.
Oh my goodness.
Fantastic personality, a pretty easy keeper. She's a decent forager. She gets along well with almost everyone in the flock, from the bullies down to the super sweet girls.
That's good.
Which is probably why they were so incredibly popular on early small farms.
The other thing that I found, which I thought was really interesting, was after World War I, they survived the Great Depression because they were thought up as a very hardy, thrifty chicken.
They are.
So the other thing that I found is that their popularity has gone up and down in the years since. An interesting fact that I found is in the 70s, the Livestock Conservancy had a program where they had flock owners participate in a breeding. So they're trying to build them back up, which is very good. Sometimes we need to do this with the chickens.
Yes. This is a wonderful breed. It's not one that we would want to lose. They're very good layers on top of being sweet.
How many eggs do you get a week?
I probably get 4, sometimes 5 eggs a week from Dolly. She's
awesome.
An excellent layer. She stops laying pretty late, as we move into the winter months. As we move into the fall months and we have less light.
Yeah.
She's one of the last to stop laying. She's one of the first to start laying.
Nice.
In the late winter, early spring. Apparently, Dolly's never gone broody, but apparently about half of your Dominique hens will go broody.
Okay.
Which is wonderful if you decide you want to breed this chicken for conservation.
Yes. So, I mean, with all those things, it looks like to me, the Dominique would be a good fit for our backyard flock. We looked up some places where you could find some information. Once again, we can't stress enough, like you can go in Facebook groups, you could potentially find breeders local to your area, where you can find these chickens if you're interested in them. The Livestock Conservancy also has a breeder's directory.
They do. I've also found them at My Pet Chicken, which is lovely if you're ordering a mixed flock.
Okay.
You could include a few Dominiques in there. I really can't say enough about how sweet they are. They're just funny, sweet little chickens.
That's awesome. You can't go wrong with that type of personality in a chicken, especially with having kids around them and stuff.
No, I have heard anecdotally, and listeners, if any of you have this experience, let us know. I've heard anecdotally that the roosters can be on the aggressive side.
Okay.
If they think you're messing with their hens, they will get you.
Most roosters naturally are going to do that.
Right. I don't have any experience with Dominique rooster. I will say that they're absolutely gorgeous. The barring on those long tail feathers, they're beautiful birds.
Some of the roos that we have seen through our Instagram feed are absolutely gorgeous. I think we've seen some of the Dominique come through. I know we've seen barred rocks.
Hank the Roo is one of our favorite accounts.
Yes.
Is Hank, I think he's a barred rock.
I think he's a barred rock.
But a Dominique rooster would not be too far off from Hank.
No, he would be, some of the roosters are absolutely gorgeous.
And so when you have a sweet little bird like my Dolly, a Dominique, and she's in a mixed flock, sometimes she gets picked on.
Oh man, I've had way too much experience with this.
And that brings us
to our next stop, Bullies and Boredom Busters. That's our main topic for the week that we want to just talk about, since we're going into winter months And this is when these things tend to show up. Sometimes if it's bitterly cold out, we have all the good intentions in the world to be out there as much as we are when it's 65 degrees.
No, yeah, I don't have any intentions of being out there when it's 20 degrees.
But when it's 20 degrees, it's really, really hard to be out there with them. So I've had some experience with this. It's not fun.
No.
And we've had plenty of room, but what it is if one gets sick, then the other ones tend to bully that one.
Right. If you're a new chicken keeper and you haven't experienced this yet,
It's horrible.
essentially what we're saying is that all flocks have a pecking order.
Yes.
That's where that expression comes from. The kings and the queens are usually the leaders because of their seniority, their age, sometimes because their size,
Right.
and sometimes just because they have a dominant personality.
Exactly.
And some breeds tend to be more dominant than others.
If you do your own research on breeds and you look up, that will come out sometimes that they are not a good mix with a mixed flock.
Right.
So you have to really look at that. I have a lot of different types, as you do.
Right.
So everybody has to kind of learn to get along with one another.
They do, and I will say that my sweetheart Brahmas are always at the bottom of the pecking order, always, always.
In our flock, we had 4 Americanas, which unfortunately have passed. They were always at the bottom of the pecking order.
Well, you had a chicken with medical issues recently who was out of the flock for a while.
I did. We had Drusilla, your goddaughter, who had an injury.
So,
But we did manage to get her back in.
we did manage to get her back in the flock. It was actually really interesting to me. I'd never seen a chicken be out of a flock. She was out of the flock close to a month.
6 weeks.
6 weeks. So longer than a month. And just as a side note, let me tell you something about Chrissy with her chickens. She went away on vacation and brought Drusilla to me because Drusilla had to have bandage
Special
changed.
care,
Yes.
yeah.
I'm going to put a picture on our Instagram feed and our Facebook of what it looks like when Chrissy brings a chicken to visit for a week.
She had to come fully equipped to Aunt
She
Holly.
had a
Uncle
full
Pete.
entourage. She had more luggage than I ever take anywhere. Anyway.
It was fun. So, yeah, you'll find out, someone who's newer in this, that if you have an injury or an illness, chickens don't like to see weakness, and they will try to
It's a survival instinct.
take it out. That's what happened with Drusilla. She had a leg injury, and she was out for 6 weeks, but that chicken is back in.
And I would say that's because Morans tend to be a more dominant breed in general, personality-wise.
Well, her and her sister were named stepsisters from Cinderella. So Drusilla and Anastasia. So they were 2 of the bulliers. And then it happened to her.
So I would say that you tend to see bullying, as you mentioned, when there's a chicken that's sick.
Right.
And sometimes the flock knows there's something wrong with them before we know there's something wrong with them.
Which has also happened to me.
Right. I've seen birds be bullied during molting.
Yes.
Interestingly enough, sometimes the molting hen will be the top girl, and then when she's miserable with the molt, the other girls will start to pick on her.
And I've also seen this. You can have a chicken be bullied for a different reason and then push it into a molt because it's stressed.
Sure. Yeah.
So it all goes back around. So, it happens for whatever reason. It's just
changing flock dynamics, bringing new birds in, moving other birds out. Sometimes you throw a rooster in that mix and it all goes downhill.
which I have not done yet.
And sometimes it's just plain old boredom.
Right.
There's no grass, there's nothing for them to do.
So we figured we would look and do some research on some boredom busters and things that we do normally.
Yeah. Well, the first thing, depending on the circumstances, if it's someone that's just bullying beyond what I think is acceptable, I give them a chicken timeout.
I do too.
Okay.
So we have a separate area that I kind of have to watch because it's a smaller cage area, but they have to come out.
Yeah, so I've taken them out. I've never had anyone out for more than a few days. I've read people that have them out for a couple of weeks.
Right.
If it's, the top girl in a flock and she's just really relentless, she needs to come out. And sometimes you have a power shift in that time.
Right.
And when you put her back in, it may be better. Sometimes that doesn't work.
Right.
Sometimes you end up putting up a whole other coop and yard.
We've all been there also.
Yes, but that's another story. We've used dog crates. We've used the soft-sided pop-ups.
Right, which are my favorites.
Right, and actually both of our big yards that have the most chickens in them have small pens built within the run. to separate
You
someone.
can even put the small pop-up pens in there.
You can.
So they can be still in there. And I've also used the garage to put up the small pens to keep them complete, if it's weather appropriate.
Yeah.
To keep them separate.
Right.
So definitely those types of things. So boredom can cause the bullying.
Right.
So I found something really interesting the other day, which I never knew existed. And then I was like on the phone with you, like, did you know this existed? And it's hen toys.
Yes.
Have you heard of these before?
No, I had heard of people, adapting dog toys.
Parrot toys.
Right.
Like for
Parrot
Grayson.
Exactly, right. But I was unaware of the fact that there were hen-specific toys. We love this.
So you could go on Amazon and search hen toys, which blew my mind. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, I had to check them all out.
Why not? Well, some of them are just adaptations of dog or parrot toys that just work better for hens.
Right.
So we have some favorites.
I'm like, I'm going to buy them the whole line for Christmas. You always wonder what you're going to buy your hens for Christmas.
What are you going to get your hens for Christmas?
Well, they get hen toys from Santa, of course. So they had these really cool, like, you can stuff, like, vegetables. They had paper. I'm not really keen on them chewing on paper myself.
Me either.
Because that could be something that could get kind of gooey in the crop. But you could put anything in it. It's just something they can peck at. You could put scratch in there.
Yeah, I saw several different variations of essentially what is a container with holes or slits that you can fill with veggies or fruit.
Yeah.
And hang it, and they can spend their time pecking at that.
And then they had the spear where you could stab the cabbage and the fruit, which, you know what I do? I take twine and then a screwdriver. Joe always laughs at this. I'm like out there with this huge flathead screwdriver, like, oh, going through this cabbage. And he's like, I don't even want to know what you're doing. And I'm like, don't worry about it. So I put that through and then run the twine through and then tie it to the coop.
Are you doing a thicker twine so that it's something they won't try to eat?
Yeah, they don't try to eat it. In fact, you go back there like an hour later, the twine's like to the side and the cabbage, they're just all about
they've
the cabbage.
gotten it out, okay.
It moves so that they have to peck at it. And that one. I've done that myself. The other thing that is like the most obvious, supervised free play. I call it that.
Yeah, free range.
I say free play because I send the kids out there in gloves, hats, scarves. It's 25 degrees. Go play with those chickens.
We're not in an area of the country or the world where you can just let your chickens out for the day because they will not come back.
You wouldn't have chickens more than a few days.
Right. We are so inundated with predator pressure.
We have a lot of predators around here.
So around here, if you want to keep your chickens,
you have to do supervised.
You have to do supervised free range.
Free ranging. If not, you will not have chickens.
Right.
So I send the kids out. Of course, they're 10 and 15, right? But they're like, it's cold. I'm like, gloves,
bundle
hats, go out there and supervise them while they free range because they like to forage even in the winter.
They do.
They can find, you can see them finding bugs.
I would think if you had a really active chicken, say from a Mediterranean breed, that they really would need a decent amount of free range time because they're very active chickens.
Yeah, they like to scratch, they like to run around. So that's one of the boredom busters is to get yourself all, warmed up and get out there with a cup of coffee and let them free range and then put them back in and go back in. So that's one of the simple things that you can do.
We're spending some time building some more roosts and places in our yard for them to just be able to get up away from each other.
And perches. Like you can just find big sticks, put them in. I do logs for more protection around the perimeter on the inside. So
we
they
do
like
logs.
to jump.
Yes.
A live after the season's over, the Christmas tree, it can provide a little bit, I think we talked about this in a week before, barrier from the wind, but it gives them places to jump up, get under. You could hide treats under it so that they can to go around and find them.
Right.
All these things will help in the long run.
They do. I have also, most of the time we let leaves that come down stay where they are.
Oh yeah,
eventually they decompose into mulch, but places where I do need to pick up leaves, I'll take the piles and put them in the yards. And the chickens have the best time just kicking them and scratching through them.
They like just going through them.
You can throw a handful of treats on the ground and throw the leaves over top and let them pick through that way.
Anything that would take their mind off of just being cold and sitting there. So
it keeps them active, it raises their body temperature, all of those things.
Straw bales, we talked about using them under, so you can have a few that you leave in there that you can throw under at night. and then you can take apart one, and they like to dig through it.
Again, scratching and
It also insulates your run floor a little bit.
It does. Well, the same thing with the leaves. As they decompose, they sort of, become more substrate.
So they're not
in the
right
yard.
on that hard rock floor.
Right.
So all those different things. I even saw a neat idea somewhere of somebody taking a water bottle and filling it with scratch.
Really?
And just poking a few holes in it, and then they poke holes in it and get the scratch out.
Okay.
So
that
it's
works.
just anything to get their mind off of simple mirror so they can comb their hair and look good.
What girl doesn't want to check her reflection in the mirror when she's in the coop?
Mine need a mirror and a knitted hat. I seriously want to do that.
A knitted hat?
They're so cute on them. Have you seen the helmets? They're like beyond.
You're right. You know what? I have seen the helmet. Someone texted me a photo of the helmet.
It might have been me.
Chances are.
But the knitted hats are so cute. I wouldn't do a sweater because that stops them from warming their body, but the knitted hat...
Feathers can get stuck in the sweaters, too.
And the knitted hat would be so cute.
This is just a prop. This is not something you leave on your chicken.
Well, what about with earmuffs? I love that.
Heavens.
Out in the snow. I mean, you need a little protection over the muffs.
You do. There we go. So those are a lot of our boredom busters.
That's like a fun thing to talk about. I mean, hey, it's like jungle gyms for your chickens.
Yeah, we had
swings. I have 2 swings.
The swings are great. We actually had a silver maple split in half a few weeks back when it was super windy.
Yeah.
And we're going to cut a big hunk of that
Make a swing?
put it in the... No, we're not going to make a swing. It's going to be like a jungle gym, which is what you were just saying.
I love those jungle gyms.
So, they have a variety of perches to climb away.
Yeah. I mean, it's just making it different for them. I know some people free range, so they kind of get that out, but ours, like you said, predator-wise, we cannot.
They would not last long now.
If you guys have great ideas, other than these even,
we would love to hear them.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. Send us some pictures, hashtag us, tag us in Instagram or Facebook. We're on Facebook also. We'd love to hear it because I always need something new. I'm like, please.
And the girls appreciate it. The boys appreciate it too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're like, huh? I have to wear this hat, Mom?
Right.
Are you going to make them wear a hat?
No. I would knit a tiny chicken hat if you feel very strongly that you want one for a photo shoot.
If Drew had to come to your house, you know that she would come with, and it were winter, she would come with the hat.
Oh my goodness. I've never seen anything like it.
Oh, she even had her little treat ball, everything.
She did. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You were like, what?
I spoil my chickens, but girl, you take it to a whole nother level.
It's crazy. So, you think we should move on?
I think we can.
To one of our favorites.
Yes.
Retail therapy.
But we haven't cracked the eggs yet.
Oh, wait. I'm already thinking about shopping. I'm like, what the heck? We do need to crack some eggs.
We need to crack some eggs.
Mm-hmm. So, cracking the eggs, and this is your famous recipe, so you go ahead and explain it.
I've been making these cookies since I was a teenager, I think.
Long time.
Yeah, these are my famous peanut butter cookies. They're super easy. If you're short on eggs, if your hens have really slowed down in the laying and eggs are few and far between around your place.
And you're taking the walk of shame.
This is this is a good one because a 2 dozen of these cookies only uses 1 large egg.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's 4 ingredients: peanut butter, sugar, vanilla, egg. That's it.
And if you're gluten and dairy free.
Yes, it's naturally gluten and dairy free. Those are the easiest of my cookie recipes. We're going to put a couple of other cookie recipes up in our show notes.
I make all different types of cookies at Christmas time. So we've had to, throughout the years, take the walk of shame. And I send Joe. I'm like, I'm not going to take the walk of shame. And I'm like, get really good eggs. He's like, oh my gosh.
Most cookies, unless you're doing meringues or something like that, most cookies don't use a ton of eggs.
No, like usually 2 eggs per recipe that you're going to do. And then all my neighbors, since we have the chickens, they all get eggs. They all want the cookies from the eggs. So they're all looking for them at Christmas time. And then you're like, I better have a winter layer somewhere in there or else we're taking that walk of shame. So I usually make like chocolate chips, snickerdoodles, all kind of cookies.
Oh, you should put up the snickerdoodle recipe. I have that too.
Yeah.
That's one I've been making since we're kids.
Who's my 10-year-old has taken on baking with me.
Nice.
Yeah, so she's really, really loving it.
Well, then why don't we just teach her to make the peanut butter cookies?
Yeah, so she doesn't have to ask you to bake them. Aunt Holly, you should have brought the peanut butter cookies.
They really are good. I mean, I get where she's coming from. No. No. So we've baked our cookies. We have most of our holiday shopping finished, but
I always love shopping.
yeah, me too.
This is why I want to skip over the whole cracking the eggs.
So we're doing something really fun. Chrissy and I both grew up in a neighborhood. I don't know if you would call it an ethnic neighborhood. It was very Catholic.
Yeah.
And it was sort of Irish, Italian, and Polish families for the most part.
Yeah.
And so our parents all tended to have these beautiful glass heirloom ornaments for the tree.
That you could never touch.
You could never touch, that's right. That's right.
That were always at the very top of the tree. Yes. And you weren't allowed to hang them either.
That's right.
You had to hang the paper one you made at school.
We rebelled when we were a bit easier. We rebelled when we were a bit older, and we were like, the whole tree's going to be glass. We're not putting any of these junky school ornaments on there.
And I'm going to teach the 2-year-olds not to touch the ornaments,
exactly.
Which is not as easy as it seems.
No. Or the dogs either.
I mean, so many years I had like a themed tree with like one type of unbreakable ornament when the kids were little.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I'm not going there.
Did you do a full-size tree on the floor, or did you put them up on a tabletop?
We did a full-size tree, but we did like snowflakes from the dollar store.
Okay.
The whole tree.
Yeah.
So that if they broke something, it
didn't matter.
It didn't matter.
Yeah.
And we didn't have to worry about saying anything. So we're kind of past that now, and our really nice ornaments are coming out.
Nice.
And that's what you love at Christmas time.
Absolutely.
So for our retail therapy, we picked somebody really good, old world Christmas class chicken coop ornaments. And there's coop ornaments and there's chicken ornaments.
Yes. The Old World Christmas is a company, I think in the 1970s, they started producing blown glass ornaments here in the United States.
And you can follow them on Facebook or Instagram, and they have an Etsy shop.
They do. They have all kinds of things. I mean, you need a wiener dog ornament, they have it. But we found 4 really gorgeous chicken
They have something to
ornaments.
do with chickens. Hey, you could get a coffee cup and then put a chicken next to it. That would be awesome.
You could. It's your tree.
We should order that for each other for Christmas.
Maybe someone's already ordered something like that for Christmas.
Maybe I'm the late shopper.
So I'm going to start with the rooster ornament, because I actually have him. My mother-in-law gave him to us when we moved into our house as a housewarming gift. So, and the links to these 4 ornaments that we picked are in our show notes, of course. The rooster he's on the tall side, beautiful, multicolored, gorgeous guy. We found him. You mentioned the coop, which is, I think, both of our favorites.
That's my all-time favorite.
So it's literally a little glass chicken coop with a little chicken in it and flowers around the outside of it. That one's adorable. And then they have 2 different hens.
Yes.
There's a brown hen. I think that's the spring hen ornament.
I think so.
And then there's a white hen on a nest.
I like that one too.
Again, super cute. These are really beautiful. They work perfect if you're going for that old world Christmas tree theme, or if you're a crazy chicken lady and you need a full Christmas
Here, this is what I like
tree with chickens.
Because I'm still going to like people that are close to me, their house. We're trying to keep socially distant and everything. But like my cousin's house, and there's only going to be a few of us there. You know, like if these people like chickens, if they're this is a perfect ornament.
It is.
It's one gift.
Right.
It's a nice hostess gift for somebody who has chickens. Or if you have chickens, it's a nice gift for yourself.
Put it on your Christmas list. If people are asking you, what should I get you? You can get me these beautiful glass chicken ornaments.
I have a Pinterest board for my house, for Joe.
Do you?
Yeah.
That's smart.
Because I'm like, don't ask me for ideas. I want to be surprised, but then I'll put 500 ideas on there.
I usually write everything down for Pete and text it to him, but the Pinterest board is just as good.
Yeah, and
That's
it's
a great
fun
idea.
to pin them. It's like pin, 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 pin.
I think I have I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I think I have 500 Pinterest boards. Seriously.
You are like Sophia. She has like all these Pinterest boards. She's all in it. Sophia's my 15-year-old daughter, so that's the first thing that we let her do was get Pinterest.
Oh, nice.
And she went Pinterest crazy.
Well, it's pretty. I mean, sometimes when I just can't take the news or day to day, I pull up Pinterest and lose myself in pretty pictures.
Do you know what it reminds me of when we would get these projects in school? You get the poster board that's huge, and then they would tell you, go through 10 magazines, and whatever strikes you instantly.
Right, the collages.
You would cut and paste on the board.
Right.
I loved doing those because it did feel like you were looking inside yourself a little bit when you look back at it.
That's what inspiration boards are. People do that
But
now.
that's what Pinterest, to me, it's what it reminds me of.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool. So these would be a good thing to put on the Pinterest board.
It would be.
And, the holiday is fast coming. So if these are something that you're interested in, you may want to go on quickly to order.
Right.
To make sure that you can get them in time.
Yes.
They're cool. They're worth it. They're not that expensive either. I mean, they're somewhere between, $15 and $25.
Yeah, which I think is pretty normal for glass ornaments.
Definitely. And even if you didn't want chicken, I'm on the website, there's all different kinds.
All kinds of stuff on there. Yeah, it's really pretty.
So, it's kind of bringing us to the end.
Time to wrap up?
Yeah, it's making me sad. This one's really fun, talking about all this stuff.
Next week will be a lot of fun, too. Next week, we're going to talk about leghorns.
Oh, yeah.
Our main topic is rescue chickens.
That's always a heart warmer.
It really is. And our recipe, bread pudding with whiskey sauce.
Yay! It's going to be Christmas week, so we have to have something yummy in there.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun right before the holiday. Our New Year's Eve episode is going to be pretty fun, too.
Retail therapy for next week.
Retail therapy for next week
What are we doing? This is one of my favorites.
Oh, this is fun. This is the top 10 last-minute gifts for chicken lovers on Amazon. Yeah.
This one was one of my favorites.
I know it was. So, with that, we'll say goodbye for another week.
And don't forget to hug your chicken every day.
Bye.
We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
If you'd like to see more from us, follow us on Instagram at Coffee with the Chicken Ladies. To send us comments, feedback, suggestion, or questions, email us directly, Chrissie&Holly at coffeewiththechickenladies.com. Thanks for listening.